Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about gender, meanings around masculinity and femininity, and try to explain a little bit more some of the material from the text. So we're looking at comparing and contrasting our sex, the different meanings behind sex, sex roles, gender and gender roles, looking at theories of gender socialization, looking at sources of gender socialization, and we're looking a little bit at that and one of our assignments this week when we look at toys that are marketed towards boys and girls. We're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of traditional gender roles and look at some of the social influences on these gender roles. Gender roles play a huge role in our lives still, despite the fact that we see society changing, that men and women are moving more towards equality. There is still a long ways to go there. But, you know, women are in the workforce. Women have more freedom in terms of what they can dress. They can wear pants, you know, they don't always have to be wearing dresses. So despite seeing some of those traditional attitudes around gender changing, gender still has a very much a big impact on our day-to-day lives. Um, One of the things that I really appreciate about our social world today is that I think there are more and more ways for folks to identify. This slide here says that some people don't identify strictly as male or female. Um, we have transgender folks now. We have folks that identify as being gender queer, meaning that they feel like they don't necessarily fit into the male or female box. We have folks who identify as gender fluid, meaning that, you know, maybe one day they feel more masculine, one day they feel more feminine. Um, I think it's wonderful that folks have the ability to express themselves in whatever way that they really want. But the challenge for society is that with traditional gender roles, we're able to know who folks are. We can look at them, we can anticipate their behaviors, we can put them into that box where we know exactly what to expect. We can't necessarily do that today, and that leads to a lot of uncomfortable feelings for folks. And it means that we need to communicate a whole lot more to figure out who people are instead of trying to make guesses based on their appearance or other factors. I talked a little bit about this in our assignment video, but sex and gender are different things. Sex is biological characteristics that are fixed. So for men, well, if we look at the differences between men and women, we look predominantly at reproductive organs. Men have penises, women have vaginas. We look at secondary sex characteristics. Women have larger breasts, men have more facial hair. Interestingly, there is some research showing that many folks, more folks than we would believe, have underdeveloped sex organs of the opposite sex, bringing into question how really fixed is this idea around sex. And there are folks who are intersex who do have the sex organs of both male and female. So we look at sex and we really want that to be a binary. You know, folks are male or female, but that isn't even necessarily true today. The difference between sex and gender: sex, we're looking at biological characteristics. Gender, we're looking at socially learned attitudes. You know, and this is again where we say gender is a social construct. When I teach Intro to Sociology, one of the things we always talk about when we talk about gender roles, in India, women work in road crews. You know, that is um, a typical role for a woman to take, which is not something that we tend to see here. Not that you can't see women doing road work, but that is more of a predominantly male type of job. So when we talk about gender, you know, again, it is socially learned attitudes, and those learned attitudes can be different depending on the society that you're living in. These charts look here at traits that are supposedly associated being more male or more female. And again, these things go back to, again, that idea that we want to be able to know who someone is and anticipate their behavior and how they may act based on physical characteristics that we see. And it's very uncomfortable when folks don't necessarily fit into those boxes. It's uncomfortable for us because we don't know what to anticipate, and it can be uncomfortable for those people who don't necessarily display these traditional traits for male or female, because they're also aware that they don't necessarily fit into that box that society expects from all of us. Um, When we talk about roles, a role is a behavior that is expected of someone who holds a particular status. If you ever take intro to sociology, we talk a lot about statuses and roles. Statuses are a position that you occupy in society. So, for example, one of my status in relation to all of you is that I'm a professor. I'm the professor of your intimate relationship class. So the roles or the behaviors that are expected of me are there's an expectation that I'm going to respond to emails pretty promptly because this is an online class. I am going to create assignments related to course materials. I'm going to try to do that in an engaging kind of way. Your roles as students are to complete the coursework, to read the chapters each week, to do the quizzes and the tests, to interact with folks in the discussion forums. So those are when we talk about statuses and roles, those are the differences between those things. A status is your position. You are all students. That is your status. Your role is doing homework, reading the textbook, interacting with your peers. If we're talking about gender roles, those are the expected behaviors of a male or a female within a particular culture. And again, gender roles aren't fixed because those gender roles can be different depending on the society that we live in. Um, and a sex role is a behavior that is defined by biological constraints. So, for example, I am a female. One of my sex roles is that I can have children. That is defined by my biology. I have the biological components to have a child, to bear a child. So that can be part of my sex role. Socialization is the process where we learn characteristics of our group. We are socialized into our culture. We are socialized into gender. Um, Socialization is where we learn kind of the rules of our social world. I really dislike transvestites still being in this version of the text. Um, I don't know. I feel like folks confuse transvestites and transgender um, very, very much. Someone who is transgender is someone who, and that actually may, oh, just flipping ahead here. Oh, here we are. Um, because I honestly don't hear transsexuals being used that often, and I do find that folks find it confusing. When we talk about someone who identifies as being transgender, this is someone who feels that their gender, how they feel internally about who they are, is different from their biological sex. So biologically, I am female. If I felt, though, that I was male in all aspects, if I felt internally that I should be male, that male is how I identify and um, how I interact with the world, I would then be a transgender male. Um, Talks here a little bit about terminology as well. LGBT. We've seen that those that label expanding, LGBTQIA, to include lots of different kinds of folks. The LGBT used to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. We have in there the QIA may mean questioning, I may mean intersex, A being asexual. Again, we're seeing our language start to change based on the fact that there are so many different ways that folks can identify today, which is exciting and very challenging. Here's some gender-related terms, looking at terms that you may hear often. Assigned sex is something that I hear more and more about as we're more aware of transgender issues, so we'll talk about folks whose assigned sex. My assigned sex is female. And I identify as female. Again, someone who is transgender would say, if I was transgender, I would say my assigned sex is female, but I identify as male. Um, so a lot of great terms there. Um, I'm not going to review patriarchal and matriarchal, just talking about whether society tends to be more female dominated or male dominated. And societies by large are mainly patriarchal as opposed to matriarchal. Sexism is unjust discrimination based on our sex. And sexism is certainly in the news quite a bit with the Me Too movement. And we're going to be talking more about that later this semester and issues around consent. Um, And men and women can face sexism in our culture. We hear much more about it when it comes to men, I'm sorry, when it comes to women, sexist things that men may say to women, um, women being treated in sexist ways. But certainly, men can be victim of that as well. Sexual harassment is abuse of one's position of authority to force unwanted sexual attention on another person. And again, men and women can be victims of sexual harassment. One of the interesting things when the Me Too movement first kind of came onto the scene was there were a number of men, Terry Crews being one of them, I hope I'm right on that, but who talked about sexual harassment that they faced as well. Um, because sexual harassment is certainly an issue that we need to deal with in our society. Women, and as we see stories from many, many women coming out related to the Me Too movement, obviously women are very much a victim of sexual harassment, but men are as well. And some of the issue with men is due to men's roles or men's gender roles, we teach men, don't cry, suck it up. We teach men that they are supposed to want sex, that they're supposed to want to be um, engaged in sexual activity. So for a man to come forward and talk about sexual harassment really goes against our culture, which is why men, reports of rapes against men are often underreported. We don't have really accurate statistics around that because men are much less likely to make a report. So sexual harassment does affect both men and women in our society. Um, I'm going to skip over some of our theories here because I want to talk a little bit about socialization. Oh, here we go. Um, how mothers and fathers treat their children differently, because the socialization process starts from the moment we're born. Actually, it starts before we're even born, as we start to pick up things for the baby's nursery. Are we going to get pink walls and, nice soft colors? Or are we going to get, blues and reds, primary colors? Different kinds of things. So that socialization, whether we have a boy or a girl, that starts right away from the second we find out the gender of our child or the sex of our child. Fathers tend to spend more time with their sons and their daughters. Their attention may be focused more through giving gifts or money as opposed to paying attention or spending time with their child. And they do set higher standards of accomplishment for their sons. One of the things I always say in these courses is when we look at these things, this doesn't mean that every father acts in that way. Clearly, that's not true. But these are trends that we do see. Trends when it comes to mothers. Mothers tend to express affection and give verbal praise equally to their sons and daughters. And in single mother households, which we do see a rising number of, children have had less traditional gender rearing. Children are given less of those gender specific messages. Ways that parents socialize their children. They may use different physical and verbal manipulations. We might direct kids' attention towards certain stereotypical gender-identified objects. We might direct our sons towards, balls and bats and cars, when we direct our girls towards princesses and tea sets and makeup kits and things like that. We might use the same different verbal descriptions for the same behavior. If a girl is acting up, we'll tell her to stop being so fussy or to settle down. If a boy is acting up, we might say, oh, he's going to be a brave one. He's going to be a strong one. We use different language, when the same behavior is happening with boys and girls. And we might encourage or discourage certain stereotypical gender-identified activities. When my daughter was in preschool, there was a boy, Michael, who I'll never forget. Michael came in every single day wearing a princess dress. And I wondered, the second I saw him, I was like, I wonder how this is going to go over. And everyone, the daycare staff, the kids, they just treated Michael like a kid. Nobody commented on his princess dress. He just got involved with everything with all the other kids. And I really admire the fact that his parents didn't discourage that kind of behavior, or that the daycare staff didn't discourage that kind of behavior. So we are, I'm running out of time for my video here, but we're going to look more at this idea of our socialization, particularly how parents socialize through our toys and teach boys and girls about what it means to be masculine or feminine. Please email me if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.